This is day 88 of the Arukh HaShulchan OC. If you would like to sponsor an upcoming share or more of the Arukh HaShulchan OC, it would be very, very greatly appreciated. Please contact me directly. Today we are doing Siman Nun Hey, Seif Dalid, through Siman Nun Hey, Seif Yud Aleph. And we're talking about Kaddish. And now the Arukh HaShulchan is going to tell us about the amount of Kaddish in which we should or should not say. Dalid. HaKadmonim Lo Amru Rak Shiva Kadeshim B'chol Yom. They only said 3 Kadeshim each day. Shlosha B'Shachris, which are Echad Achar Yishtabach. One is after Yishtabach, V'Hashem Achar Tachnun. Second after Tachnun. V'Ashlishi Achar Uval Tzion. Koel. They between Uval Tzion and Aleinu. Shnayim B'Mincha. 2 at Mincha, Echad Achar Ashrei. One after Ashrei, V'Hashem Achar Tachnun. The second one after Tachnun. There's 9 barbis and 2 in the evening. Echad Kodesh Shmona Esrei, one before the Shmona Esrei, Vasheni Achar Shmona Esrei, and after the next one after Shmona Esrei. Al Shem Sheva Bayom Hilal Ticha. This is from the Rokeach. He says 7 times a day I praised you. Those are the 7 Kadesh. V'chakach Chosifu Od Shlosha. Then they add another 3. B'chol Tefillah Achar Aleinu. They after each of the tefillos they added another kaddish after Aleinu, because we should call each tzarich chaim b'chol yom osios tzadik. Every person has to do every day the letters tzadik. Tzadik. The tzadik is tzadik amenim, 90 amens. Daled kedushos, 4 times kedusha. Yud kadeshim, 10 times kaddish, and kuf brachos, 100 brachos. By the way, the 4 times kedusha are actually in Shachris you have the kedusha de miyushav, sitting down, the kedusha de umad, 1 inch Esrei, another kedusha de miyushav in the Volet Zion, and of course the 4th kaddish kedusha is that of mincha. Okay, but Tikkun kaddish l'char Aleinu mnei is soimin. Now, the Kaddish after Lena was primarily made, says Arukh HaShulchan, because of orphans. Shelo yichlu lispalel livnei ha'amud, who were too young to daven in front of the Amud, unfortunately. Kaddish Yosem, they call this the mourner's Kaddish. Yom Kriyas HaTorah, O Kaddish Lachar Kriyas HaTorah. After that, they added yet another Kaddish for Kriyas HaTorah, after Kriyas HaTorah. V'yosei become a Kaddeshim. There's no more room for Kaddish after that. They add another one after Shir Shayom. They use some room because of many orphans, unfortunately. More than this, it is inappropriate to add. And with this, we raise up high the flag of the holy, divine presence. We should say Kaddish hastily. Zederech Amei Aretz. That's what Amei Aretz do. Yomru Kavana Bizbananus. With intent and with attention. To have anguish on the golos of the divine presence. Now, there are, at least in Chabad, there's a minhag for an Ovel to say 18 Kaddishim a day. 18. And the reason for that is because there's a Zohar, I think it's a Zohar Kodesh or some other Kabbalistic source wants to include into it, which says that for every Kaddish you say, you save your dear departed loved one from 1.5 hours of Gehenna. So if that's the case, to cover 24 hours, you need 18 Kaddish. 18 Kaddeshim, yes. 1.5 is 18. 18 times 1.5 is 24. Yes. So they have many, many extra Kaddeshim for that purpose. This is in direct contradistinction to the Arukh HaShulchan's approach. And I think other Hasidim also have our Marbin Kaddeshim. What the Arukh HaShulchan here has not mentioned is the Kaddish of the Kaddeshim at the beginning of davening, which are seem to be added on. Maybe he'll mention them later. Hey, Kosev Rambam say that Tefillah B'Nusach Kaddish. Rambam writes, "Kol Asar Yisrael Yoser, any 10 Jews or more, she'oskim Talmud Torah Shabbat Peh, learn Torah Shabbat Peh, afilu me'adrashos or bagados, if they're learning Medrash or Haggadah, Simon Omer Chamem Kaddish Benusach Zev Chule. When they finish, one of them says Kaddish in this version. V'anikra Kaddish D'Rabbanan. And that's called Kaddish D'Rabbanan, Kaddish D'Rabbanan. So it's clear that only if 10 people are learning together is there permission to say such a Kaddish. Not less than 10. The Mishnah Berurah disagrees. Mishnah Berurah says that, and even only 2 or 3 people learning, as long as there are 10 people present, then the Kaddish may be said. But in any event, says Arukh HaShulchan OC. If one person learns, he can't see Kaddish. He said, therefore we should rebuke people. Yard site. When they have a yard site, learning about some Eitzim Prakim Mishnayos, they learn themselves several Prakim Mishnayos, for them Kaddish. Then they say Kaddish. Also associated. It's forbidden to do so. Then those who say you can't say Kaddish unless you learn Haggadah. Therefore, there's a custom to say something about Gaddik. Statement like that's usually one which is said. They don't make Kaddish Rabbanan or to say Kaddish Rabbanan afterwards. It seems also from the Rambam in the Perush HaMishnayos that it has to be a Ma'amar Agadi. On the kind, it seems from those words in Seder Tefillah, not that way. But on the contrary, Agados Kosav Afilu. On the Haggadah he wrote, even on that you can make the Kaddish. It goes without saying, it's in Halachos, Vayim B'Sif Tes, which the Mishnah will still get to today. Vav, Kol Devar Shebekdusha, Ein Amrim Pachos Me'asora Mi'Yisrael Zechorim U'Gedolim. Anything which has to do with Kedusha requires 10 adult males. Sheviu Shtei Saros, who are above the age of majority of having 2 hairs on their body. U'Bnei Chorin, who are also free people. Lafukei Avodim, who are not slaves. V'L'chein Yomru, L'chein L'kash Kedusha Baruch Shein Asara Lo Yomru. That's why there are 10 people. You don't say Kaddish or Kedusha. The Abei Asar Shchinta Sharia. Because on the number 10, the Shechina devolves. We're learned it from the pasuk. The pasuk is in Vayikra. The Gemara is in Brachos. Be sanctified within the Jewish people. Nevertheless, when they began saying Kaddish Kedusha at 10, and if you left middle gomrim also Hakadosh or Kedusha Shitzchil. You finish that Kaddish Kedusha which you began. As long as there's 6 people left, Shem Rov Me'asara, which is the majority of 10. Nevertheless, even though they can continue to say the Kaddish Kedusha, it's a transgression to leave. These people says, those who leave Hashem will be destroyed. If there are 10 people left, it says you're allowed to go. Ad kan Lashona. Chomar. Meaning, if there are 10 people left, then you can leave when you're compelled to leave. You can only nekav, such as we have to go to the bathroom, etc. The below is a pshita. The gam nishur asor also it says if there's not a compelling need, it's obvious that even if there are more 10 people left, you may not leave. And the below nishur asor b'chanyan also it says. But if there aren't 10 people left, then you're not allowed to leave no matter what. The Mishnah Berurah says that you're allowed to leave if you already heard Kedusha and Kadeshim up to Aleinu. At that point, I guess it's probably considered to be sufficient, but I'm not sure still if you can leave in the middle of the Kaddish would not be seen as a denigration of the Kaddish, regardless of how many you heard. Again, if a person needs to go, the person needs to go. Zayin, Klal Gadol Hu B'Din Zeh. It's a great principle in this matter. So when there were 10, and if you left in the middle, the Garment Inyan Zeh HaKaddish, you complete this subject with the Kaddish HaShayach Lezeh, the Kaddish which is juxtaposed to it, V'tu V'lo not more. Kagon, such as Shem Sub Psuki Dezim Yotzim Miktsasam, say Mel Psuki Dezim, some people left, and you have less than 10. Garment Yishtabach v'Mer Kaddish. You finish till Yishtabach and you say Kaddish after Yishtabach. the Mr. Brewer brings down people who argue. If you start Yishtabel with 10 and some of them left, and the Prima was not sure, you can say Kaddish afterwards. And the Sefer Mamar Mordechai and Derech HaChaim and Chai Adam all passing, you can't say the Kaddish, but the Arukh HaShulchan says you can. I'm not sure what the stat. I never seemed to me that there's this issue of Kaddish Levatola, so therefore I don't see why one could not be lenient like the Arukh HaShulchan in this scenario. Be as it may, Arukh HaShulchan says you finish the Yishtabel with Kaddish V'lo Yoser. There's Yotzer Or Inyan Acher, because Yotzer Or is a totally separate part of Davi. Yotzer Mitzvah Yotzer Or. Some of them people go during Yotzer Or. Gomrim Ad Shmona Esrei. You finish to Shmona Esrei for Lo Yoser, and you can't go on to Chazar Shots, which requires 10. Mr. Brewer says even if you started just Kaddish and Baruch Hu with 10, and then some people leave before you start Yotzer Or, you can still say you can still finish up to Shmona Esrei. I'm not sure what the Chiddush in this is. Obviously, you can finish to Shmona Esrei. I don't know what the idea, why there's a Chiddush here. Because it's not about Chazar Shots. Because the next line says, Yotzim Mitzvah and Krim Sheischil Chazar Shots. You people left before Chazar Shots began. Lo Chazar Shots at Tefillah. Shleich Tzibur can't do Chazar Shots. Yotzim Mitzvah and Achar Sheischil Chazar Shots. If some of the people left after you began Chazar Shots. You can go all the way through now to the next Kaddish after Shemon Esrei. Asher Tzion already is post-minion from this perspective. Some people left after they began Asher Tzion. You can say the Kaddish Sholem. However, if people left by Oleinu, even the minority of people left after they began Oleinu, they should not say the Kaddish, which is after Oleinu. Why? It's not Mikradin. This is true about all these things, all these prayers. Oleinu is something else. We have a long brackets here. Gimel. If the people left after he began out loud, so you can say it sounds like even as long as you start Chazar Shots with 10, you can do Kaddish Shalom at the end of davening. Utamor is astonishing. And by that time, you should not have the right to say Kaddish. And obviously, it's a big question here. The leader so says Arukh HaShulchan, to me it seems it's kavanah shel chatzi kaddish Shmona Esrei. I've done this many times actually. What the Arukh HaShulchan says here, when I've had a davening a minyan mitzumtzum, so where people left during Tachanun, that or even during Chazar Shots, that the next Kaddish, what the Ramah means is that the Kaddish which comes after Tachanun before Avodah Tzion, say it as a Kaddish Sholem. That's your Kaddish Sholem. Kevin she'Kaddish Hashem lo yomar od, halotov she'achtom tiskaba b'Kaddish zeh v'dok. That is in fact a Lach L'Maisa. Shlomo Zalman writes that the Ikar Kaddish ends with Damiron Ba'amavim Romen. The rest of the Kaddish Sholem or Kaddish Yosem is a tack-on, and so Arukh HaShulchan is saying that tack-on, instead of tacking on to the last Kaddish, which you're not going to be able to say, tack on to the Kaddish you're still able to say. That's simple. Mishnah Bura, though, argues, and he says that in fact, the Ramah is talking about the Kedusha after Avodah, and you can also say that Kedusha, the Kaddish Sholem, although according to Arukh HaShulchan's description of the explanation of how this works, that's not at all clear why that would work. Ches, nearly the Kenadin and Kriyas Torah. There's also a halacha by Kriyas Darshim Yotzim Mitzvasam if some of the people left and you have less than 10, Chavas Hayom Ba'Kruim, Yigmur Chavas Hayom Ba'Kruim, you should finish the obligation day with the not mounted people stuff to call. I'm after Levarech, but not maftir. The Haftarah in Yon Achisai, because Haftarah is another matter. Umela Shagama B'Torah Levarech, and of course also he shouldn't say, since he's not Haftarah shouldn't be said, so there shouldn't be any maftir in the laning. Ach b'mincha b'tayit tzibur yala maftir shua shlisha termination min yakruim. Obviously, in mincha b'tayit tzibur, where although he will not be reading the maftir, but he's part of the three, so therefore he should get aliyah. Aval haftar b'chaseh lo yavarchu dinim b'vnei atzmo kein nirel ani uzdaiti, says the Arukh HaShulchan. L'ayim b'gei Avraham simekuf m'gimel tzarich ir b'ayin the Rabba Shah. Sif Tes ukshem shekshiyotzu mitzvasan. It's like when part of the people left, you finish the tefillah with the kaddish, which is juxtaposed that part of the tefillah. It's like if you start without 10, the middle 10 came. Since they started Baruch Shamar without 10, but by Yishtabach you had 10. Omrim kaddish, you do say the kaddish. So to a marv. Some people extrapolate this also on to learning. When they started learning without 10, then the middle 10, the 10th man came. Shomer Kaddish. So Arukh HaShulchan is we saw before. He only is happy with this if everybody's learning. He says here, if they learned a little bit together, it's certainly true. But if they came after learning was over, they shouldn't say Kaddish because the learning was not taking place with 10. Seems that the Taz indicates you do say Kaddish in that circumstance. It's not true. Mr. Bura says that whether you're saying, whether you're davening or learning, Achronim say that once you get 10 people, if you want to say a Kaddish, if they didn't participate in prior activity, you should say a Mizmor, or at least 3 Psukim, and then say the Kaddish. It's not like Yishtabach, the B'Sham Ikar Tefillah, Kach Niskino. That's the way the Tefillah was set in place. Sheyispalalu B'Asora, they should have with 10, Sheyomru Kaddish. And say Kaddish, V'lo B'limud. Not by learning. Even though you didn't learn all, but there were 10 people there. Omer Kaddish. Do say Kaddish. Rambam clearly doesn't know that way. The Afagad, the Kedusha Osim, even though you can say the Kedusha even for individuals, we will see when we get to Simon Samach to ask. Because every individual every day is liable to is required to say kedusha. It's part of the essential format of the davening. But there's no obligation to say kaddish on learning. She said 10 people were together. Here chachamim. Permission not in any other circumstance. Like we wrote previously. Yud. Kasu Rabbi say Baal Shulchan Rabbi Sif Dal. Yesh Matin Lamai Dabash Kedusha Betisha Betziruf Katan Yosem and Sheish Yodelim Mispali. Some people like to say Kedusha is if even if you only have 9 adults, as long as you have 1 child who's more than 6 years old and knows to whom one davens. Most poskim disagree. The slave and a woman do not join. And even if the cotton is holding a chumash, which is a common assumption that the cotton holding chumash is better than the cotton not holding a chumash, nevertheless you can't make him part of the minyan. But some people are lenient b'shas adchak. Akan l'shono is the end of the quote from the Rabbi Seinu Bali Shulchan Aruch. Nebizin se have a pluto the Rabbi. So in this halacha there's a major machlekes. They're those who wanted to allow the child to join in the 10. Even those who wanted to be martyred did not actually do it lemaisa. This is down from Taisus and Brachas Memches. V'gam dasa Rambam mibrachos. A parakeh mibrachos. Rambam also said Kenu is also does not have this leniency. V'zel l'shon Rambam say b'alei Tais v'shon. Maskana the Milsa. The conclusion is the ein osim katan slif l'asara. You don't make a katan add a tack on in order to make up 10. L'zimun for Baruch Elokeinu shulchan l'mishalo. Uletfila or for davening achal b'shtei soros until he has 2 hairs. Hakan l'shono. Chen kasav arosh. Chen b'yusham b'shav. Chen mesh rabba brachis. All those, all indicating you need 10 fully adult males. V'zeh shekasav sheyesh miklim b'shas adchak. Was that those who say you can be lenient at a time of difficulty? Because the Vush lo ranagim lakel apshas adchak. Vush says he never saw anybody lenient even if it's shas adchak. Chen onamori malach lamaisa, not to be lenient about this. Brackets he says I am okay. Avram kvar chokol Elirab shav Yaakov much cause machzis the shekel. Okay, the Mishnah Berurah brings then the Magen Avram says that in our day and age, this Magen Avram that the Arukh HaShulchan is rejecting there is a minute to allow a child with a chumash in his hand, but he writes that many achronim are machmir, including Arukh HaShulchan, not to rely on this even shas of chak. Yurav, katan shegil l'shnosi yom echad, a child who's fully 13 years old. It's time to soul hold over. We let him join in for anything. Armina, we say mistama hebi saras. Assuming he has 2 hairs. The Rabbanim mean chazakazu because by the Rabbanim we line this chazaka. The law of the Raisa, not by Torah law. Kamuvar Kamakoim is explained in several places. Achim lo yadan shlevi saros. But if we know he doesn't have hair, you don't let him join till he has 2 hairs. Ach imhu slis. But if a person does a slis, meaning he's naturally artificially castrated, Shanir Bosimani Sishu Ben Asrim, and you see indication as a Swiss in terms of his voice and so on and so forth. When he's 20 years old, the Mishnah Berurah says for some reason 30 years into his 20th year. Oznas, in other words, how many he's 21, like we would say, if it's Esrim B'Yom Echad, but only 30 days, 20 and 30 days. Oznas Kegadol, then he was like an adult. The Mishnah Berurah says that including for davening, which is more lenient because it is because it's the Rabbanon, you can be married to him even if he's under 20 if he has him with a Swiss. But the Arukh HaShulchan being blown year old boats in one Swiss, you don't say signs of being a Swiss ad shiavarosh no till most of his life is over. Dainuk shuben lamed vav shana, which is when he's 36. Nasa kegadol, then and only then comes a gadol, because there are others no simanim. But lo mikodim, not prior to that. Mishnah Berurah says it's in this case it's not 36 means 35 and 1 day. In the brackets here, it writes if you see somebody Swiss before he's 35 and 1 day, then he has the lach of a gadol. I'm astonished, says Arukh HaShulchan. Why didn't he mention the 20-year-old cut off? Because we find that in many places.